You know, in the world of motorsport, some rivalries are just battles for a trophy. But every once in a while, a rivalry comes along that completely divides a sport, defines a whole era, and just becomes the stuff of legend. So today, we're going to dive into one of the most personal, most explosive conflicts in modern racing history, Valentino Rossi versus Marc Marquez.
And that's really the big question here, isn't it? The whole story starts with pure admiration, but it ends in one of the most controversial moments the sport has ever seen. To really understand the explosion, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning.
So, before all the war of words, before the on-track collisions, there was respect. You had Marc Marquez, this young Spanish prodigy, stepping into a world that was absolutely dominated by his hero.
I mean, it's kind of hard to imagine now, but as a kid, Marc Marquez was a massive Valentino Rossi fan. Seriously. He grew up watching Rossi just own the early 2000s, and his bedroom walls were plastered with posters of the Italian legend. For Marquez, Rossi wasn't just another rider. He was the benchmark, the whole reason to even get on a bike.
This quote right here, it just perfectly captures how things were at the start. When Marquez burst onto the MotoGP scene in 2013, he was genuinely just thrilled to be on the same grid as Rossi. But, well, that dreamlike respect, it wasn't going to last very long once the racing started. In his very first MotoGP race, Marquez went wheel-to-wheel with Rossi for a podium spot. And he was aggressive, completely fearless, and he made it crystal clear he was not intimidated. That single race was a huge sign of things to come. A new superstar had arrived, and he wasn't there just to admire his hero. Okay, so let's jump ahead to the season that took this rivalry from just a competitive battle to an all-out, bitter feud. The year 2015 is a massive flashpoint in MotoGP history, where everything just boiled over in the most dramatic way you can imagine.
Now, to understand what happened, you really need to know this about Valentino Rossi. He wasn't just a master on the bike, he was a master of psychological warfare. His whole career, he famously used the media and these little strategic comments to get inside his rivals' heads. And in 2015, a lot of people think he tried to pull those same tactics on Marquez.
And this is where it all ignited. Right before the second-to-last race of the season in Malaysia, Rossi dropped an absolute bombshell in the press conference. And this wasn't some subtle mind game, this was a direct public accusation.
He basically stood up and claimed that Marquez, a fellow Spaniard, was deliberately messing with his races to help Rossi's main title rival, Jorge Lorenzo. I mean, this was totally unprecedented. Writers just don't make public accusations like that. The tension in that room and honestly across the entire sport just skyrocketed. Then came the race, and you could just feel the drama. The two of them got into this unbelievably aggressive battle, trading paint, swapping positions, until this infamous moment. Rossi runs Marquez wide, their bikes touch, and Marquez goes tumbling into the gravel. To this day, fans will argue for hours about who was really at fault. And the penalty, that was the crucial blow. Race direction penalized Rossi for the incident, which meant he had to start the final, championship-deciding race from the very back of the grid. For his chances of winning a 10th world title, it was devastating.
You see, the Sepang clash wasn't just an on-track incident. Its shockwaves ripped through the entire MotoGP community, creating this massive divide that, for some people, has never really healed.
After 2015, you were either in one camp or the other. No in between. Rossi's massive global fan base was absolutely convinced that Marquez had sabotaged their hero's championship. But Marquez's supporters saw it completely differently. They believed Rossi lost his cool and caused the crash. The debate just raged everywhere, online, in the stands, all across the globe.
And the bitterness wasn't just among the fans. For years after this, the relationship between the two riders was just ice cold. On those rare occasions they shared a podium, they would often avoid eye contact, they'd refuse to shake hands, they wouldn't say a single word to each other. The atmosphere was just unbelievably tense.
So beyond all the controversy, what makes this rivalry so compelling? Well, it's the classic clash of two absolute titans with completely different ideas on how to be the best in the world.
And let's just start with this number, 9. Despite their different paths, despite the 14-year age gap, they both stand on the exact same peak of motorsport's greatness, with 9 world titles each. It's this perfect balance that makes their rivalry so good.
And the contrast between them is just so stark. You've got Rossi, the doctor, who was like a chess master on two wheels. His greatness was all about tactical genius, smooth consistency, and this incredible career longevity. And then you have Marquez, the innovator,
whose dominance came from just raw, aggressive speed and this daring style of controlled chaos that pushed the limits of what was even possible on a bike.
And this quote from Rossi himself just nails Marquez's revolutionary style. Marquez became famous for these unbelievable crash saves, dragging his elbow and knee on the asphalt at impossible angles, recovering from slides that would have sent any other rider into orbit. He truly redefined modern riding technique.
So, why do we still talk about this rivalry so much, even after Rossi's retirement? Because it literally had every single element of a legendary sporting drama.
It was the perfect storm. You had the old guard against the new king, a once-in-a-generation talent challenging the sport's greatest icon. With a world title hanging in the balance, their clash of styles and personalities, the charismatic entertainer versus the fearless prodigy, it just ignited a firestorm that forced the entire sporting world to pick a side.
Ultimately, their conflict was so much more than just a fight for trophies. It was a battle of generations, of philosophies, of what it even means to be the greatest. Rossi, the legend, who basically built the sport's global appeal, against Marquez, the innovator who completely tore up the rulebook. Their rivalry didn't just define an era. It gave MotoGP its most unforgettable and maybe its most human drama.